I'm Esther, and welcome back to the Homestead Skill of the Month Club. We're still in March, still doing garden soil and seeds, and we're still celebrating the first week of spring here in the Northern Hemisphere by touring some other people's gardens and sharing different perspectives. This one is for those of you who wanted more information on the Back to Eden garden we toured earlier this week, belonging to my friend Erin Case. Today we're going to hear from the other half of that duo. Lex Case is Erin's husband, and he's going to talk a bit about soil and particularly how the Back to Eden process or method affects the soil and especially microbial life in the soil. Lots of people are into wood chips gardening, or people call it Back to Eden gardening, and you've been doing that. So tell us about it and tell us why you think it works.
Okay, yeah. So I've been doing Back to Eden gardening, and that's where I got it from. I've been doing it for 4 or 5 years now, and it's just amazing. I mean, you've got the wood chips that over time break down, provide nutrients and micronutrients and mineral content into your soil over time. It acts as a fantastic weed barrier. I do hardly any weeding. When the plants are just coming up, I have to weed around them to begin with, and once they're established and you fill the wood chips in, there's no weeding to do. It's very dry here in Boise. Last summer we had probably three days of quote unquote rain. It wasn't very much, just a little sprinkle here and there, and all through June, all through July, all through August, I didn't have to water the garden at all. This is our little garden spot here. It's just barely gotten warm enough the last couple days to be out here starting to work things. Like I said, we've got our wood chip covering here, and it has broken down a ton compared to last year, so that's going to be good stuff that's gone into the soil. And we had green beans, we had pumpkins, and we had one gourd plant that was planted way over on that corner, and it just took over the whole thing. We had probably 50 of these big long bottleneck dipper gourds. Had our tomatoes here, we had potatoes on that side, we've got blackberries over there, and it's not a big space, but we can grow a lot of food here, and we love it. Both my wife and I love being out here working in the dirt and knowing that our food, at least during the time where we're eating off the garden, is as good as it possibly can be.
Okay, so if I want to do this, what are my steps? What do I actually have to do?
Ideally, you would start in the fall, and you would lay out your garden where you're going to have your garden, and you'd put the wood chips down in the fall. That gives them all winter long. Like I said, it acts as a barrier for the microorganisms. It gives them all winter long to kind of season themselves to start to break down. And then in the spring, you just make a furrow in the wood chips, and like I said, rough up the couple top inches of soil, plant your seeds, leave the wood chips to the side, wait for the seeds to start to grow. Then as they grow, you can start to fill in with the wood chips around the plants.
Okay, so when you say rough up the top couple inches, what tool are you using?
Just like a rake or a hoe.
Okay.
Yeah, no tilling. You don't have to get any very deep. It's just enough to have a soft bed to plant your seeds into. But once they start to root, unless you have extremely hard clay soil, and I've talked to a couple people that they just can't get anything to grow because the soil is so hard. But you don't have to. Once they start to root, the roots are pretty strong. They can break down through even moderately hard clay soils we have. So keeps the moisture in soil, provides mineral content and nutrients to the soil over time, keeps the weeds out, and it just in the wintertime it acts as a barrier, an insulation, like a blanket, that keeps the microorganisms that are in the soil active and continuing to break stuff down even during the wintertime when they don't have plants to attach to. So for me, it's been fantastic.
And how do I know if my soil is any good?
There's a number of tests that you can do. There's pH tests that you can do, and different plants like different pHs, but there's a balance there. There's tests that you can do to get the NPK content, nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus. Those are the 3 main plant nutrients. So you can buy tests to do that. If you want to get really into it, you can take soil samples and send them off to a lab, and they'll tell you all of your soil content, the calcium and the manganese and the magnesium and all those micronutrients that we talked about. You can get really you can really nerd out on soil if you want to, but for the most part, if you keep it covered, wood chips is great, leaf mulch is great, leaf straw is great. I mean, in Back to Eden, they said you can even use rocks if that's the only thing you have to keep the soil covered, and you're going to get mineral content off of those rocks even. So it's pretty simple. It really takes a lot of the guesswork out of gardening. And there is all these tests, but I don't really do it. I mean, every once in a while I'll see something that looks a little yellow, and I'll know that I need nitrogen. But other than that, I just kind of let nature take its course. That's
okay. But the reason you can let nature take its course is because you know what you're looking at. So try to think back to when you didn't know stuff. But you never had that time.
Right.
But imagine the people who don't know stuff and start to give us some things. Tell us more about this yellow nitrogen thing.
Okay.
Pretend that we don't know anything about it.
Okay.
Try to fill in.
So the yellowing, there could come a time, when they're really small, they're going to come up really bright green. Most plants are really bright green and young and tender, and you'll be able to tell that they look healthy. As they get bigger, they start to have more nutritional needs, and if they don't have nitrogen is the big one. That's the biggest plant food. So that's the easiest one to tell. If they're starting to turn just like a pale yellow, they're starting to just discolor from that green. They should go from that really bright green to a darker green as they get older in most plants. But if they start to go the opposite way and go to a yellow, it's most likely a nitrogen problem. And so you can use animal manures if you have them. You can get a fertilizer at the store. You can use fish emulsion, blood meal, bone meal. There's all kinds of nitrogen rich things. If you can keep it as natural as possible, that's kind of my philosophy. Commercial farming has gone, and it's starting to come back around now. There's people that are more concerned about it, but for the last few decades, it has gone to strictly NPK. If a farmer's growing a crop, he's going to use nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus. Not going to care about any of the other micronutrients that are necessary for the plant. They use pesticides and herbicides, fumigants to kill nematodes, which causes problems on a lot of their crops. So they completely destroy all of the bacteria, all of the fungus, the beneficial fungus in the soil. And there's a whole web of life underneath the soil that we can't even see, but it's there, and it's essential for the health of the plants. A plant has evolved and is created to take care of itself, and if it's a healthy plant and it has all the nutrients it needs, and there's this web of life going on underneath it that's a symbiotic relationship, then it produces its own defenses against pests and against fungus and against all of that stuff. So there are beneficial bacteria, there are beneficial funguses, there are earthworms, there are insects, and they're all part of this continuous cycle of growth and death and decay and breakdown of that decay to provide nutrients for the new growth that's coming up. And if you can take care of that part of it, if you can take care of the soil and make your soil into living soil, that's what I like to call it, as living soil. It's not just dirt. It's a living organism, a super organism of a combination of many organisms that are alive in the soil. So if you can make your soil living soil, you're going to avoid the majority of the problems that you have with disease in your plants and deficiencies in your plants and nutritional value of the food that you produce. Anything that you can do to help your soil, whether it's animal manures or whether it's compost, people do their own compost, or whether it's your lawn clippings or the leaves, anything you can put back into the soil is going to help those microbiological communities to thrive, and it's going to take care of most of the problems that you have with any of your plants.
It's common for me to invite YouTubers to link up their channel so that we can promote their own work. Lex and Aaron Case do not have a YouTube channel. However, they do have a product, which is a soil stimulant, which feeds microbes in the soil. So I invited Lex to tell us a bit about his company and their product.
TerraFresh started, and this may get to be a long story, and you may want to cut most of it out, but I'll try to keep it short. It started because one of my business partners lost his son to cancer, and through the whole process, a 3-4 year heart-wrenching battle, like I'm sure most people are at least know somebody that's been through it, or know somebody that knows somebody that's been through it. And it's not just the hair falling out, it's just a horrible experience all the way around. So 3-year battle. We were, the whole group, the whole TerraFresh family was with him every step of the way, and it was horrible. But through it all, we became convinced that he probably got sick to begin with because of all of the chemicals that are sprayed onto our food, and not only onto our food, but washed into the water supply. And we decided when he passed away that we had to do something to try to make the world a healthier place, the planet healthier, the people in it healthier, the plants healthier. And so we came up with TerraFresh, and it's an all-natural liquid soil amendment that you can put on your ground, and it works with the web of life that I was talking about. It works with the microorganisms in the soil, draws them to the root zone of the plant where they are most needed, and then it starts that cycle, increases their populations by providing a quick food source and a more longer lasting food source. And it starts that cycle where plants can be healthy and thrive because of the relationship and the foundation that is underneath them. So that's TerraFreshHome.com, www.terrafreshhome.com if you want to check it out. And that's kind of our backstory and our company. Gardening, it can seem to be overwhelming. It seems like it should be simple. You throw seeds in the ground and you throw some water on it, and a few weeks later, a few months later, you've got food. It doesn't always work out that way. There is a little more involved in it, but if you follow the things that we've been talking about today, if you have the wood chips, it simplifies gardening 1,000 times. You don't have to worry about which products to buy to take care of pests and which products to buy to take care of weeds, and you don't have to worry about weeds. So there's things that you can do that make it just super simple and super enjoyable. I mean, you walk out here and when everything's green and lush and there's no weeds, it's just a great feeling. And it is a little bit of work. It's a little bit of work to get started, but it's very, very rewarding work. Yeah, go out, garden. It's awesome. It's fun. It's relaxing and healthy.